All right, welcome to another deep dive, and this one might make your skin crawl a little bit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some stuff that's kind of freaky. I'm talking about creatures that have been found living inside the human body.
Oh, wow. That's getting right to it.
Yeah, and you know those stories where you hear something and you think, that can't be real.
Right, right. I know exactly what you mean.
Well, it is real, and we found a YouTube video. It's a bit dramatic, but they cover some real medical cases, and we're going to be looking at those cases.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to take you through 5 specific cases today, and we're going to look at what these creatures are, how they got there, what it all means for us. So,
Sounds fascinating.
yeah, buckle up and try not to itch too much because things are about to get a little creepy.
All right, well, I'm ready. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with case number 1, and this one comes to us from Peru.
Okay.
It involves a 17-year-old boy who had this swelling near his eye. And the doctor initially thought it was something pretty common, like cellulite, just a skin condition.
Makes sense.
But this was no ordinary skin condition.
Oh, really? What was it?
It turned out to be a botfly larva.
A botfly larva. Wow, and those are pretty nasty little creatures, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And what's particularly alarming about botflies is that they typically lay their eggs on mosquitoes.
Oh, I see.
So you can imagine a mosquito bites you, it's carrying these botfly eggs, and then the larva hatches and starts burrowing into your skin.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to this young man, and to make matters worse, this larva decided to burrow near his eye.
Oh, no, that's not good. I mean, being that close to the brain, any sort of infection could quickly become very serious, couldn't it?
Exactly, and this is where the story gets a little interesting.
Okay.
To remove the larva, doctors actually used basil leaves.
Basil leaves. How did that work?
Well, you see, botfly larvae are attracted to the scent of basil, so
Oh,
by placing these leaves near the entry point, the larva was lured out and poked its head out far enough for doctors to safely extract it.
so they use the basil to kind of trick it, to draw it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like something out of a folk remedy book, isn't it?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. You don't hear that kind of thing every day.
Thankfully, the boy made a full recovery,
That's good.
but it definitely highlights the potential risks of insect bites.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in areas where botflies are common.
Right, so it's something to be aware of.
Definitely.
Okay, moving on to our next case. This time we're going to California.
All right.
A 26-year-old man started experiencing those sudden, intense headaches.
Headaches, yeah. I mean, those can be caused by all sorts of things, right? Stress, a lack of sleep, even something you ate.
You're exactly right, but this case was a little bit different.
Ooh.
Yeah, it turns out the source of his pain was a tapeworm larva and a cyst, both located in his brain.
Wow, the tapeworm in the brain. That's pretty scary.
It's a specific condition called neurocysticercosis, and it's caused by the pork tapeworm.
And sorry to clarify, a cyst is basically like a sac filled with fluid, right?
Yeah, and in this case, that cyst was housing this tapeworm larva, which was putting pressure on the surrounding brain tissue, and that's what was causing those severe headaches.
I see. So it's not the worm itself directly, it's the pressure from the cyst.
That's right. And this is a condition that, believe it or not, is more common than we think.
Mhm.
And it's often linked to consuming undercooked pork.
Oh, so food safety is a big factor here.
It really is, and the impact of this condition can be long-lasting.
Right.
In this case, the man experienced memory issues and even had to put his studies on hold for a while.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what you're eating, doesn't it?
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Suddenly, I'm very aware of what I had for dinner last night.
All right, are you ready for our next creepy crawly?
Okay. Hit me with it.
This time we're talking about a spider in the ear canal.
Oh, a spider. That's gonna make some people squirm.
This one might make you shudder, but it's actually more common than you'd think, especially in warmer climates.
Really? Why is that?
Well, you see, insects are drawn to the warmth and darkness of the ear canal.
So the ear is kind of like a cozy little shelter for them.
Unfortunately for the human involved, yeah, that's exactly right.
I can imagine.
And in this case, it involved a woman in India.
Okay.
She was experiencing an itchy ear, which, let's face it, we've all dealt with that at some point.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But for her, the cause of the itch was a spider that had decided to make her ear canal its home.
Oh, no.
And it had even started spinning a web.
Oh, I can't even imagine the feeling of something crawling around in your ear and then to find out it's a spider building a web. That's a whole other level of creepy.
It is. It is. And, thankfully, doctors were able to safely remove spider.
Oh,
They
goodness.
used a liquid solution to flush it out.
Okay.
I actually heard they captured the spider emerging from the ear canal on video, but I don't know if I want to see that or not.
Yeah, I think I'll pass on that one.
This case serves as a good reminder to be cautious when sleeping outdoors.
Right. Especially in areas known for spiders and insects.
Yeah, you never know what might decide to crawl in.
That's for sure.
So let's journey to India once more for our next case, and get ready for this. We're talking about a fish in the bladder.
A fish in the bladder. How is that even possible?
This particular case involved a 14-year-old boy who claimed that a fish swam up his urethra while he was peeing.
Okay, now I've heard it all.
You might be thinking, no way, that's impossible.
It does sound pretty unbelievable.
But it's not. Doctors confirmed the boy's story, and they had to use specialized tools to remove the fish from his bladder.
Wow, so this wasn't like some tiny little fish. This was something big enough to actually get stuck in there.
It's certainly a cautionary tale.
Yeah, especially for those who enjoy keeping aquariums, I imagine.
Yeah, it just emphasizes the importance of handling even small aquatic creatures with care.
You never know where they might end up, I guess.
All right, now brace yourself for our final case.
Okay, this is the big one, huh?
It's perhaps the most disturbing of them all.
All right, lay it on me.
This one might make you lose your appetite. We're talking about squid sperm in the mouth.
Squid sperm? What? How did that happen?
Well, certain species of squid have a rather unique reproductive mechanism, you see.
Okay.
This case involves a woman in South Korea who decided to have some partially cooked squid, and while she was eating, she felt this stinging sensation in her mouth.
Oh, no.
Now, squid have these sacs called spermatophores that contain sperm, and in some cases, these can embed themselves in the tissues of someone who eats raw or undercooked squid.
Oh, so that's what happened?
And that's exactly what happened here. Doctors found multiple spermatophores in her mouth. It's rare, but unfortunately not unheard of.
It just goes to show you really have to be careful about what you eat, especially when it comes to seafood.
It does. Cooking seafood thoroughly can definitely help prevent these types of incidents.
I'll keep that in mind.
So for all the adventurous eaters out there, maybe think twice before diving into that raw squid dish.
Or at least make sure it's been prepared properly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little itchy now.
I can understand that. These are some pretty unsettling cases.
They are. But, before we dive into some deeper discussions about this, what stands out to you so far from these cases?
Well, it's just amazing to me how, it's just amazing to me how these cases, while unsettling, they really reveal this complex interplay between humans and the natural world.
It's true. We often think of ourselves as separate from nature, but these stories are like a stark reminder that we're very much a part of it.
Yeah, and not always in a harmonious way, as these cases demonstrate.
You got that right.
But what I find particularly intriguing is the variety of ways that these creatures actually entered the human body.
That's right. We had, a larva burrowing through the skin. We had a spider crawling into an ear canal. We even had a fish finding its way into a bladder.
It really makes you wonder what other entry points we might not even be aware of.
Right.
And speaking of entry points, the case of the tapeworm larva, that brings up another important point, the role of food safety in preventing these kinds of parasitic infections.
That's a really good point. We hear all the time about washing our hands, cooking food thoroughly, but it's easy to forget. It's easy to become complacent.
Right.
These stories are a good wake-up call
They are.
to be more diligent about food safety practices.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual responsibility either. We need to think about the bigger systems in place, like food regulations, supply chains.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those things play a role in making sure the food that we consume is safe.
It's like a chain reaction, Something as simple as not cooking meat thoroughly can have some pretty serious consequences down the line.
It's true.
It's a reminder that even in our modern world, we're not immune to these ancient threats.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the case of the squid spermatophores, that also brings up some interesting questions, I think, about cultural practices and how those can intersect with potential health risks.
You're talking about the tradition of eating raw or partially cooked seafood.
Yeah, exactly. While these culinary traditions, they're important, they're part of cultural heritage,
Mm-hmm.
it's still essential to be aware of the potential risks,
Yeah.
And take appropriate precautions.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
It is.
Between respecting cultural practices, but also prioritizing health and safety.
Right, exactly.
It's also important to acknowledge, though, that not all creatures that are found inside the human body are inherently harmful.
That's a really important point.
Hmm.
We use the term parasite, and it almost always has this negative connotation.
Yeah.
But a lot of organisms, they actually live in these symbiotic relationships with their hosts.
You mean they benefit each other?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the bacteria that live in our gut. They help us digest food.
Right.
They're essential for our health, even though they live inside of us.
Right.
So it's not always, us versus them.
So while it's natural to feel a little squeamish about these stories, maybe there's a bigger lesson here about our place in this whole ecosystem.
I think so. I think it's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all living things and finding ways to coexist,
Yeah.
even with those creatures that might make us uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's about understanding that we're not just individuals. We're part of this larger web of life with all its complexities and, yeah, even its creepy crawlies.
That's a good way to put it.
It's kind of amazing how these cases really, I don't know, challenge our perceptions, don't they? I mean, we think we're in control of everything, and then boom, a fish swims up your urethra.
Exactly.
And suddenly the world feels a lot less predictable.
Yeah, that's the beauty of nature, I suppose, always keeping us on our toes.
It does. It does. So after all this talk about, creatures invading our bodies, what can we do to protect ourselves? Besides, being extra careful around aquariums and maybe skipping the raw squid.
Well, a lot of it really just comes down to basic hygiene,
Yeah.
washing our hands regularly, cooking food thoroughly, and just being mindful of our surroundings, especially when we're traveling or spending time outdoors.
It's easy to forget those basic things sometimes. We get busy.
Oh, absolutely.
But these cases are a good reminder that even in our modern world, those simple practices can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And knowledge is power, too. The more we understand about these creatures, about their life cycles, the better equipped we are to prevent these kinds of encounters.
It's like that saying, forewarned is forearmed.
Exactly.
We might not be able to control everything, but we can certainly take steps to minimize the risks.
Absolutely. And maybe instead of always looking at these creatures as threats, maybe we can try to learn from them.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
mean, their resilience, their adaptability, their ability to thrive in some of the most unexpected places.
Yeah, they've evolved over millions of years to survive in some pretty extreme environments,
Exactly.
even inside our bodies.
It's remarkable.
So maybe there are some lessons there for us.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, there's this whole field of biomimicry that looks to nature for inspiration,
Right.
in designing new technologies, new solutions. Who knows what we could discover by studying these creatures and their adaptations?
That's a good point. So what started as a deep dive into, the creepy world of creatures living inside of us has turned into this broader exploration of, our relationship with nature, our own vulnerability, and even, maybe the potential for innovation.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It is. So I got to admit, this deep dive has left me with a mix of fascination and, yeah, a little bit of paranoia.
That's understandable,
I'm definitely going to be more cautious about where I, stick my toes from now on.
as you should be. But I hope it's also left you with a sense of wonder about the incredible diversity of life on Earth
It has. It has.
and, our place in it.
It has. And a newfound appreciation for the complex ecosystem that is the human body.
Absolutely. And, listeners, remember, the next time you feel an itch, don't just scratch it.
Ooh, good one.
Think about it. It might be nothing, or it might just be a tiny little reminder
A little visitor.
of the intricate and sometimes unsettling interconnectedness of all living things.
Well said. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and maybe invest in some good insect repellent.
And cook your food thoroughly.
Yes, good advice.